Hello, this is Roland. I want to continue reading from A Guide to True Peace Revisited. And we're reading from Chapter 5. We're talking about proper meditation. You could also call it true prayer, or the prayer of silence. Learning to Miguel de Molinos, a Christian mystic who lived in the 1600s, talked about recollection, internal recollection. In other words, pulling your soul, it's like pulling inward, pulling your soul inward, recollecting yourself. What I say is taking a mental step backward, taking a mental step back, okay? Abstracting yourself from thoughts. So you're the observer of thought. You know, if you try to think of a pink elephant, well, what happens? You try to think of a pink elephant and it disappears. When you take a mental step back and stare at that image of a pink elephant, it disappears, it dissolves. There's something about stepping back from thoughts that gives you power over them. See, now you don't have any power over your thoughts, undoubtedly. You struggle with them. You try to brush them under the carpet. You distract yourself from them, but there they are anyway, especially the negative ones. Thoughts flit through your mind and carry you away. And often they're negative, or they're thoughts of what happened. For example, reliving the past. What he said, what she said, what you should have said, trying to rearrange the past, or is worrying about the future. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? Or it's or fantasies of some sort. See, they always appeal to your ego. Have you noticed? The thoughts seem to appeal to your ego. Some sort of a pride, something you want, something you're afraid of. Okay? Something you don't want to face. There it is. See? Thoughts distract us. They're not our friends. That's not to say that there isn't a proper kind of thinking. If you're solving a problem at work, or you're building something, okay, or you're doing a math problem, or you're writing a letter to someone, okay, it's proper thinking. And even more proper, and even more enlightened thinking is if you realize something, you wordlessly realize something, you intuit something, like Einstein intuited his discoveries. He didn't imagine them. He intuited them. And after he intuited them, then he used thought experiments. He imagined himself in an elevator or, something like that, or riding along with a light beam. But first, it was a flash of insight. Okay? It's like the aha experience, the eureka moment. It's like getting it. Like when you get a joke, oh, see, you just get it. You can't put words on how you get it. You just get it. Well, if you have some kind of an insight, some kind of a revelation, okay? It's not an imaginative thing. It's not an emotional thing. It's just suddenly you see. Suddenly you see. I'll give you an example. Can I give you an example? Your child comes home from school, and you look and she's not doing her homework. Okay? And you're just about ready to jump on her. What's the matter with you? Why aren't you doing your homework? And then you notice that she's looking out the window and your children outside playing. And she spent the whole day in school, and now she's home working. Suddenly you have understanding. You suddenly realize that you can always do homework later. Got a whole lifetime to do homework. But it's springtime. She's been studying all day. And all weekend she was helping you in the house. And you say, oh, why don't you do your homework later? Go out, get some fresh air. You need fresh air. You're just making some excuse. You need fresh air. And then she goes out, plays. See? So what happened? Your heart melted. You had understanding. You realized something in a lightning flash without words. You just saw what was really happening. Okay? Well, so that's, and then from that realization, from a realization, from an insight, from an understanding, then action can flow. In this case, the action of telling your daughter, hey, why don't you go out and play? See, and the words came. So that was proper thinking, but it flowed from understanding. Okay? But when you're sitting around thinking about something, it's rarely that kind of thinking. What it usually is worries, fears, doubts, anxieties, what if, or reliving the past. Why did she have to say that to me? Why did she talk behind my back? Why is she gossiping? Next time I see her, I'll spread some gossip about. See, it's usually something like that. It's not a very noble type of thinking. But there it is anyway. So what do? You struggle with it. Or negative suggestions that people make. They play upon your mind too. So what do? You struggle with them, which only makes them stronger. Or you try to brush them under the carpet and distract yourself. Much better would it be simply to take a mental step back and observe it. Observe the thought. Now you're not a part of the thought. See? It's like looking at the image of the pink elephant in your mind. There it is, and then it dissolves away. A lot of times, those thoughts usually will dissolve away. They rush away see, that you then become the master. See, instead of being subject to them. See, they're like court jesters, those thoughts. They're like court jesters. Remember, it used to be a king, and there was a court jester, and the court jester would come in and put on some kind of an act and tell jokes and do juggling and something to distract and entertain the king. See, that's what those thoughts are. They're like court jesters, and so you kind of like them because you drift away with them, and they appeal to your ego somehow. But you're not. But actually, you're not the master of them. They are your master. You think of them as court jesters, but they're controlling you. How much better would it be for you to take a step back and observe them? And there's something about the power of observation, of just observing, that those thoughts diminish or they go away. Just like the image of the pink elephant, it dissolves away. Or if they continue, then you observe them, but you're no longer part of them. See, you're not lost in them. You're not overwhelmed by them. You're not controlled by them. So, so that's so I said that Miguel de Molinos used the term recollection, or taking a step back. So you take a step back from those, okay, and then at the same time, when you're sitting quietly doing this meditation, which I call it, or true prayer, or the prayer of silence, as Miguel de Molinos would call it, or Madame Guyon would call it, you also then carry that with you. So when you're done meditating, like I meditate first thing in the morning a little bit, okay, it's best to start the day with meditation before you go out in the world and get upset. It's best to start with the day with meditation, so you lead the day with meditation. So you begin right. Remember, Christ said, put first kingdom of God and His right way, and all other things will be added unto you. So put first the right thing to do, which is to meditate, so that you can have some self-control and be calmer and more reasonable and thoughtful and have some understanding when you're dealing with your family, for example. So you start the day properly, dedicating yourself or recommitting yourself to wanting to know the truth, recommitting yourself to wanting to know what's right, recommitting yourself to wanting to do what's right, and realizing that you don't even know what's right, but with that frame of mind, then you will know. God will, somehow you'll wordlessly know. It'll be like understanding, like in the example I gave of the mom watching her little daughter who was working hard and really should have been out playing instead. See, understanding. You'll also begin to have that in everything you do. Everything you touch will have some understanding in it. So you start the day with that. But then what I was going to say is that when you go out into the world, you'll have a little bit of distance. You'll have a slight detachment. You won't be so caught up in things, so emotionally involved in things and with people. And so you could say, in that sense, you're also a little bit recollected from the things of the world. See? Which the things of the world and the people and what they said, what they did, what happened to you, you've always been reacting to it. Every little thing you reacted to and became upset. See? Now you go out in the world and instead of being upset, you begin to just observe things calmly. So that's what the proper meditation is all about, or the prayer of silence, or the prayer of stillness. Okay? So that's what this chapter is talking about. I'm going to read from the chapter now. A lively sense of the presence of God will extricate us speedily from numberless mental wanderings, remove us far from emotional objects, and bring us nigh unto our God, which is to be found in our innermost being, which is the temple wherein he dwells. And when we are thus fully turned inward and warmly penetrated with a sense of his presence, we should, in silence and repose, with reverence, confidence, and love, suffer the blessed food of which we have tasted to sink deep into the soul. So when you sit quietly, as I teach for the meditation, the true prayer, the prayer of silence, you become still. So when you sit quietly, doing this inward recollection, prayer of silence, or prayer of stillness, or meditation as I call it, you close your eyes and you look at the inside of your eyelids, see the little pixels of light, little patterns of light there. And as you're looking at the inside of your eyelids, you become aware of your hand or your hands. Be aware of your hand until it becomes tingly, a little bit tingly. So you're aware of your hand and looking at the inside of your eyelids. Okay? And that's the exercise. And thoughts will sometimes approach, and when a thought approaches, you just notice it, that's all. Just observe it. Because remember, you're standing back, you've taken a mental step back. The exercise will, when you do the exercise, you have taken a mental step back. It's so simple, all you have to do is sit still and look at the inside of your eyelids. With your eyes closed, seeing little patterns of light there, little pixels of light or warm glow. And aware of your hand, or your hands. You can be aware of both hands if you like, or one hand. And you do that for a few minutes, and that's it. You are recollected. You have taken a mental step back. It happens automatically. And then thoughts will come along occasionally. Thought of what you did, or what you want to do, or what you... And it comes along, and then you notice it. And should you get caught up into thought for just a little bit, you know how thoughts carry us away, then you'll notice that you were caught up. And when you are, you're back in the present again. And after you do that for a few minutes, 5 minutes or so, then you go out in the day and you take some of that detachment with you as you go out in the day. It's just beautiful. But what you will come to see eventually, okay, not at first. At first, you're just sitting quietly, looking at the inside of your eyelids and being aware of your hand. It's very simple. But you have a sense, though, that it's helpful somehow, and you begin to see some benefits in your life, and you don't even know where they're coming from. But eventually you'll see that actually what you've done is you've left the dark realm of the imagination. You're standing back from it instead of being lost in it, lost in the jungle of your imagination. No, you're no longer lost in the jungle of the imagination. Now you're sitting on the mountaintop surveying. Okay? And you are actually closer to God. And then what happens is that when you are doing that meditation, sitting quietly, you actually download some essence, some mysterious stardust essence of thoughts to be and realizations to be. Okay? And it's like your computer downloads something, okay, in the background into your soul. And then later, during the day, you'll have realizations. All of a sudden, wow, you'll see things. Okay, you'll understand things. You won't even be able to put words on it. You won't know how you know, but you just know. And eventually you'll see that somehow it's come from the meditation. Somehow something has been added. Okay? And then later you'll know who's doing the adding. Okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed today's little lecture from A Guide to True Peace Revisited. And I hope to see you at my next video lecture, Lord willing, of course.